In this video I'll be showing you how to fix Knights of the Old Republic 1 for the PC. In this guide I'll be going over how to fix the game so you can get it to launch on Windows 10. I'll be going over how to get the game into higher resolutions such as 4K, and I will also be going over how to enable cheats on the game for those of you that are interested. What you see on the screen right now is the default install location for Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, depending what version you have. As you can see, this is for the disc, the Steam and the GOG versions of the game. So these are the default install locations for where the game would normally install. If you have chosen to install it in a specific location yourself on a different hard drive or whatever, then you will need to basically find where you've installed the game in your own directory somewhere. But for most people, if you install it by default location, then these are the areas that you will need to go to in order to find the game's install folder. For this guide I'll be showing you how to sort out the Steam version of Knights of the Old Republic. However, the same rules will apply for the disc and GOG versions. It's just your install directories will be in different locations to where the Steam one normally is located. As part of this guide, I'm going to show people that having trouble launching the game, or when they start a new game the game crashes on them, how to fix these problems. These usually work every time you apply these. If it doesn't work, then there might be another way to fix your issue, but I'm not aware of it, so sorry, but these are the fixes that I'm aware of that do work most of the time. So, if you're on Steam like me, then simply find Knights of the Old Republic in your Steam library. So here it is for me. Right click its icon like so, go down to Properties, click on that, go to Local Files, and then go and click on Browse Local Files. What this will do is this will take you straight to the install directory for where you've installed Knights of the Old Republic on your system. This is a much easier way of finding it and less hassle. I'm going to quickly just drag this window over to the right hand side of my desktop here just to maximize it and keep it locked over there, as I will be doing something over on the left hand side of the screen a little bit later. So the things that you can do here is if you scroll down and find swconfig.exe, it looks like this. It basically has a little datapad picture on it. And if you just open this up like so, these are the things that you can do in here that usually help with the situation of launching the game. One is to tick the vsync box. So if it's basically not got a tick in it, just click on it and it will tick it like so. And then the other one, which is usually the one that crashes the game on startup so people can't even launch it, is if you come over to the troubleshooting options here and then click on this option here which says disable movies, make sure it has a tick in it like so, then it will basically sort out this situation most of the time where the game doesn't actually launch up properly. Basically the intro movies on certain systems seem to actually crash the game. I'm not exactly sure why the intro movies are the only ones to do this. If you play any of the other movies throughout the game, they seem to be fine. It's just the intro movies, so unfortunately you will not be able to see any of the movies while playing the game if this is a problem for you. But of course you can just watch those on something like YouTube and that if you want to. But this is only for people that have trouble actually launching the game, so if it doesn't start up at all, you're going to want to select both of those options and make sure they're ticked. And then once you're done, click apply and it will apply those. Obviously I don't want that, so I'm not going to do any of this. Nope. The other thing you can do, for this is for people that when they start a new game, the game basically crashes on them or goes into a black screen, is again inside this install directory. You will need to find the swkotor.ini file, and this is actually right next to the swkotor.exe, so it's just this file here. If you just open this up like so, and I'm going to make it bigger just to make it easier for everyone, and if you scroll down until you get to this heading here, which is graphic options, you will see an option called frame buffer equals 1. Simply change the 1 to a 0, like so, and then once you're done here, then click File and then Save, and that will sort that out for you. And those are the two methods that will basically fix the game crashing, usually for most people. If those two methods did not work and you still have problems with the game crashing and that, then unfortunately I don't know any other ways around it. You might need to go and search it up somewhere else. Those are just the most common methods that I'm aware of to fix the game and that I've had to use in the past myself on previous systems. So I hope that those will help people out that have trouble with the game crashing on them. I'm now going to move on to sorting out the resolution within the game, and in this guide I'll be showing you how to put it up to 4K, but I will explain it for people that are doing it for 1920x1080 and 2K as well, and it will apply for anybody that's using a different resolution to any that I've just said. So to start off with, again, in Steam, find where you got your Knights of the Old Republic game. So for me it's down here. Right click it, click on Properties, click on Local Files, and click Browse Local Files. And then I'm just going to quickly close that and minimize Steam for a minute and drag this over to the right, and we could get that out of the way for now as we don't need it just yet. So the first thing you're going to want to do, it doesn't matter whether the game's in a crappy resolution or whatever, you're going to want to have launched the game at least once. So make sure that you have launched Knights of the Old Republic once on your system. This basically just sets up everything that we need for later on, including files and so on that will be needed later during this guide. So make sure you've done that at least once. Once you have launched the game normally once, come down to where you've got the swconfig.exe, which is a picture of a data pad, and then open that up, and you will be presented with this box here like so. Now all you need to do is set all the options that I do within this window to exactly the same as me. So to start off with, go to the resolution and click the little down arrow, and this will bring up a load of different resolutions that you can select to play with. You're going to want to select 1280 by 960. I know there are higher resolutions, but don't select them because else you will break the fix that we're about to apply to the game. It has to be 1280 by 960, so make sure you select that one only. The other two options here, refresh rate and texture pack, should be set by default to 60 and high. If they're not, then make sure that they are selected to those. Down underneath the texture pack bit, you will see another option called VSync. Now, I know there will be people out there that don't play with VSync, that's fine, but in the case of this game, you have no choice but to play this with VSync. If you do not, you will have so many problems trying to play this game, where in combat you won't be able to move, you'll be stuck, basically unable to move for ages, dialogue won't work properly, sometimes the loading won't work properly, it will speed up in areas, basically the problems are endless. So if you want to avoid every single problem that I've just said, then you will want to turn VSync on. So normally VSync will be a white box like so, but you want to basically tick the option, so you have a little ticks in that little box there to make sure you've got VSync turned on. The next option you're going to want to make sure you've got turned on up in the miscellaneous options box is enable hardware mouse. Make sure that is ticked. It should be by default ticked. If you don't have it ticked, do tick it, because else you won't be able to see your mouse while you are playing the game, and that's kind of a pain. Once you've done all this and got your options set up exactly like I do, hit the apply button so it's all applied, and then you can close this down. The next thing you're going to want to do is find swkotor.ini. This is this file right here. It's just to the right of swkotor.exe. So open up this file here, and I'm just going to make it bigger for you guys to make it a bit easier on you. And then you're going to want to scroll down until eventually you get to this heading here, graphics options. You then want to head on down until you find where it says width and height. Now you're going to want to set this to what your resolution of your monitor is. So in my case, I'm going to put in the width 3840, and then in the height I will be putting 2160, as this is my resolution of my screen. Now in most people's cases, they will be putting in the width 1920, and then they'll be putting in the height 1080. Now, obviously, as I don't use that screen resolution, I won't be doing this, but that is what you can do if you wish to play on that resolution. And then for 2K users, you would put in your resolution in the width and the height area as well. Once you put that in, simply come up to the top here, click File and Save. Alternatively, you can press Ctrl S on your keyboard, and then you are done here. You can now close this. At this point in the video, you're going to want to head down into the description and look at the links that I have provided for you. They'll take you to the following areas. The first link should take you to this website here, WinRAR. This is only for users that don't have WinRAR currently installed on their computer. If you do not, you will need to install it. So if you scroll down to these two headings here, most systems are 64-bit systems, so you would just click on this and download it. However, if you have a 32-bit system, then you can download that one instead, but most people it should be 64 by default at this point. So simply just download WinRAR and install it. The second link will take you to this website here, which is Deadly Stream, and it will take you to this file known as kotor editable executable 1.0.0. If you scroll down the page to this blue button on the right hand side here, which says download this file, you're going to want to download this. Basically what this is an executable for the game that will allow us to edit the values of our screen resolution so we can change it. If you don't download this, you will not be able to edit any of the values for your executable on the game. So make sure you download it. And then finally, the third link that you will find down in the description will take you straight to a download that will download automatically, which is for a program called Universal Widescreen, for short, uniwis. You're going to want to save that onto the computer somewhere as well. So starting off with the kotor editable executable that we downloaded first earlier. So by default you should have WinRAR installed, so it should be in a WinRAR file like this. Simply open up the file. Once you open it up, it will be in this WinRAR file like so. Simply open this folder that says kotor editable executable, and then you will find the executable here, swkotor.exe. You simply want to make sure you have over here on the right hand side of your screen that you had earlier the swkotor folder, which is where your game is installed on your system. And you want to come from this WinRAR here, drag this file over, drag and drop it over into the installation folder for the game. And if it pops up a message saying replace this file in the destination, click replace the file. And then you are done with this and you can close this WinRAR down. You now want to find where you have uniwis, universal widescreen downloaded on your PC. By default for all users it should really go into the downloads folder, but if you chose to save it somewhere else on your PC then you just need to go and find where it is. You will notice that it will come in a WinRAR archive like so. What I've already done and what you will also need to do is create a new folder somewhere on the PC. In my case I've done it in my downloads folder. So simply right click the downloads folder like so, and then go down to new, and then click folder, and then call that folder uniwis, like I've done here. And then you will want to right click this, which is the WinRAR archive of uniwis that you downloaded, and then click extract files, and then when you do this, you will then want to browse and place them inside of the folder you've just created. Alternatively, if you wish, you could just drag this WinRAR file that you've downloaded into this folder you've just created called uniwis like so. Open up the folder you just created, right click the WinRAR archive, and then click extract here. What this will do is it will extract the files that you've got here for me right now into this folder you've just created. And these are the two files that you should see extracted, which is patches.ini and uniwis.exe. Once you've done this, you will then want to open up uniwis.exe. Once you have uniwis.exe opened up, you will then want to start off by coming up to the top line here where it says game, and click on the little drop down box. You will notice in here is a lot of different games where you can use this program for to sort out their resolutions, etc. You want to scroll down until you find these headings where it says Star Wars KOTOR, and the one you want to find is Star Wars KOTOR 1280 x 960 interface. Select that. Make sure you select that one, because if you select any of the other ones then you will break the process that we are going through to try and make this game a much higher resolution. So make sure you select the 1280 x 960 interface option. You're then going to want to come down to where it says game installation folder, and this is where you need to find where you've got your Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic game installed. Now of course by default for all users If you want to refer back to where it normally installs the game, then go back to earlier in the video, which will be in the timestamp down in the description of the pinned comment that shows you where the default install locations are, so you have an idea of where they are installed. Otherwise, if you've installed it in a slightly different place like I have, because I installed it on a different hard drive rather than on my main SSD, which is what holds Windows on, in order to save space, I have installed it myself on my hard drive D. So I'm going to open it up like so. I'm then going to scroll down to where it says Steam Library. I'm going to open that up, and then Steam Apps, open that up, and then open up the common folder, and then I'm going to scroll all the way down until I find a folder called swkotor. You simply want to click on that. Do not open up the swkotor folder and find the exe. You do not want to do this. You just want to select the folder swkotor. That is all. Like I said, it will be default install for people that install the game default on their systems, and that's the same for disk, GOG and Steam users. However, if you're like me and you've installed it in a different area, then you will need to find where you've installed it in that area. Once you've selected the swkotor folder, come down to the bottom here where it says new resolution, and you'll see it says screen width and height. At the moment, by default, it will say 800 by 600. So you simply want to remove the 800 in screen width and put in your screen resolution that you put in earlier. So in my case, it's 3840, and then in the height, it's 2160. Of course, for other users, it will be 1920 in the width, and then 1080 in the height. Or if you're 2K, then you know the 2K resolution, etc. Once you've put in your resolution like so, come down to the bottom right hand corner here and you will see an option that says patch. Simply click on the patch button like so. Wait a few minutes for it to do the patching. Once it's finished doing the patching, it will pop up a little box here saying game successfully patched. Simply click OK. And then you can close down this window, and you are now all done with the universal widescreen patch. Congratulations, you've now patched the game to your resolution that you desired to have it at. However, if you were to launch the game right now, it would not be centered properly, and the HUD or UI would be all over the place, so it would not work very well. What we're going to do now is we're going to sort this out for all users so that everybody can basically see the HUD in the right spots. If you head down into the description again to the next link that I provide, it will take you to this website here, again, Deadly Stream, and it will take you to this file known as Kotor High Resolution Menus 1.4. You want to come down to the bottom right where it's got this blue file here that says download the file, download it, and save it onto your PC. Again, head down into the description and you will find the next link that will take you to Deadly Stream again, and this time it will take you to our file called HDUI Menu Pack 1.1. Again, go to the blue download button here and download this and save it onto your PC. Once you find where you've got those saved onto your computer, simply open up the first file which we're going to do here, which is K1HRM 1.4.7. Right, once you have this opened up, there are two ways that you can go about doing this, and I'm going to explain both ways to you all, as one way might not work for some users, so they will by default have to do the second method. But first of all, let's go through the first method. So over in the WinRAR file, you will find two files, hires_patch.bat and hires_patch.exe. Simply highlight both of those like so, and do a Control-C, and then come over to your install directory where you've got the game installed, and then just do a Control-V, and paste those two files in here, so you should now have them in your install directory. And then you're going to want to run the file hires_patcher.bat, so simply run it like so, and it will pop up this little dialog box over here. And the first thing it will ask you is please enter the width of your screen resolution. So again, enter in the resolution that you had earlier in your INI file from before. So in my case for 4K it's 3840, and then press enter, and then it will say on the next line please enter in the height of your screen resolution. So for me 2160, press enter. It will then ask you, do you want the dialog letterbox proportions adjusted? Do make sure you type in yes here. Doesn't matter what resolution you're on, type in yes, because otherwise the dialog will be completely off center or off the screen and you won't see some of it. So make sure you press in yes here and then press enter. And then finally it will ask you, please enter the name of the swkotor file you wish to patch. Now, as we haven't changed the name of the .exe that we use to run the game, you simply here will want to just type in swkotor.exe. And then once you've done all that, press enter. It'll pop this up, click yes, and then it will patch it like so. And then finally at the end, it will say press any key to continue. Just press enter on the keyboard, and it will be done, and you have now finished that. So now if you want, going back to the install directory where you put those two files in earlier, both patches, you can now highlight both of these and just delete them out of here, as you don't need to keep them any longer. For users where this didn't work and basically the little patcher failed at some point or just didn't work properly, there is another method in order to make this work. So, first of all, over inside the install directory for where Knights of the Old Republic is, you're going to want to check to see if you have a folder called Override. In my case, I do just here. If you do not have a folder called Override, you're going to want to create one. So you simply need to just right click in the open space inside your install directory, click New, click Folder, and then it will pop up with a new folder, and then you want to call it Override. Make sure you put a capital O at the start for override, or else this will not work. And then once you've got that folder created, perfect, you're all ready to go. If you already have that folder created inside your install directory, then that's fine. You don't need to do the creating a new folder. Now, coming over to the WinRAR file from earlier, you will notice above the two patches that were used, there are some other folders. And these folders will have numbers like 4x3, 16x9, so on. The two that most people are going to want to focus on are the 16x9 and the 16x10 folders. Basically what these numbers are aspect ratios of screens. So basically most people out there will be using a 16x9 or a 16x10 aspect ratio display screen. Now, if you are a user that's using a higher aspect ratio screen, i.e. the 21x9 or the 32x9, then you're going to want to select one of those folders instead. And if you're a user that's for some reason using a 4x3 display, which there shouldn't really be anyone using that anymore, then, well, if you are, you're going to want to use that folder. Now, in my case, my display is the 16x9, so I'm going to open up the folder by the 16x9. Once you open up the folder, you will notice there'll be a ton of other folders here that will say, for example, GUI.1024 by 576. What these are resolutions. You will want to select the resolution that basically is supported by your display and is the one you normally use. So for most users, that would be the GUI 1920 times 1080. Or if you're a 2K user, you will select GUI 2560 by 1440. In my case, I'm a 4K resolution person, so I'm going to be selecting GUI.3840 by 2160. So once you find the right folder that has your resolution size in it, simply open it up and you will be presented with a ton of files here. You're going to want to select the first file at the very top of this, left click it, scroll all the way down to the very bottom file, hold shift on your keyboard and left click that bottom file. What this will do is it will highlight and select every single one of the files in here. You then simply want to drag these files over and drop them in your override folder like so. And then it will pop up a little message saying, do you want to replace the files in the destination? Click replace the files. And this is another way of basically trying to make the thing work if it doesn't work via the patcher for you. And that should be a guaranteed method for those people that have trouble with the patcher. Anyway, now that you've done that, you can close this WinRAR down as we're done with it. The next WinRAR you're going to need to find and open up that you saved onto your PC earlier is the HD_UI_menu pack_PV. So open that up. Once you've got that opened up, you will then need to open up this file here, the HD_UI menu pack, and then you'll be presented with an override folder and a couple other files. You simply want to open up the override folder, and then in here you want to left click the very top file and then go to the very bottom and hold shift and left click the bottom file. So this will highlight all the files again. And you're going to want to drag these over into your override file and then click replace files in the destination. What these files are that we've just copied over into the override folder are they are designed to basically make the text that you normally get in the game line up with the boxes on the main menu and other menus in the game. As if you didn't put this on and you just used the file that we did earlier, which was sorting out the resolution stuff for the HUD, then basically you would have text all over the place. So both of these files are required as they fix those problems. Once you've done all that, you can now close this down like so. The last thing I wanted to go over, and this is a bonus for people that want this, you don't have to have this if you do not want to, and for those of you that don't want to have it, you can just skip to the next part in this tutorial by going to the timestamp in the description. For those of you that do want this, head to the link that I put down in the description. It will take you to this website here, which is Nexus Mods, and it will take you to this file here, KOTOR 1 Remastered AI Upscale Cutscenes. Now, the downside to this, unfortunately, is you will need to make an account on Nexus Mods in order to download this. It's not hard, it's not difficult to do whatsoever, so basically go and do that. Once you've got that all set up, you then want to scroll down to where it has the Files tab here, click on that, and then down here where it has Main Files as the heading, you will see it will say resolution and then the number of, like, basically the resolution of the screen. You want to find the one that's appropriate for your display, so for most users that will be this one, resolution 1920 by 1080, and then again for 2K users it will be this one, and then for me 4K it's this bottom one here. Once you find the appropriate one for your screen resolution size, click manual download. What this will do is it will pop up a message saying do you want to do a slow or fast download. Click slow download and then save this onto your computer. As it is a 6 GB file mine and takes quite a while to download, I've already got it downloaded, so I'm not going to do that now, but you're going to want to make sure you save it to a place where there's a lot of space if you are a 4K user, as this is quite a big file size. Once you've got that saved onto your computer, you will then want to find where you've got that saved, so in my case it's right here. So simply open up that WinRAR archive like so, and what you will see over here in the WinRAR file is all these files here. Again, click on the very top file, scroll all the way down to the bottom, hold shift on the keyboard and left click on the bottom file to select every single file inside the WinRAR. Then coming over to where you've got your Knights of the Old Republic game installed, you will notice a folder called Movies. Drag everything from the WinRAR archive over into the Movies folder. Now for me this is going to take a little while as it is 6 gigs worth, so I'm going to just let it do its thing and I'll come back when it's done. So now I have all the movies copied over into the movies folder, so I can close this WinRAR file here and I can close this down now too, as that is done. So now that you've sorted out the resolution and everything else for the game, you have 2 ways to launch it. The reason I say there are 2 ways to launch it is because the first way doesn't always work for every single person. So I'm going to go through both ways. The first way is to go to where you have your Knights of the Old Republic game installed, so your swkotor folder effectively, and then go to where your swkotor.exe file is. In my case it's right here. Simply right click it, go down to Properties, then go into the Compatibility tab, and then go down to this option down the bottom here called Change High DPI Settings. Click on that. And then come to the bottom bit where it says High DPI Scaling Override. Make sure you tick the box that says Override High DPI Scaling Behaviour. And then when it says Scaling Performed By, on this drop down box, select Application. Then click OK, and then click Apply, and then click OK. So then as soon as you start to run the game via Steam or GOG or whatever it is, it should by default for a lot of people open up perfectly normally and it will fit the screen and you'll be able to get on with the game. If that doesn't work for some users, which is the case sometimes, there is a way to fix this. Simply come to where your desktop is, right click the desktop, go down to display settings and then come to where it says scale and layout, click the drop down box. By default for 4K users it will be 150%. Simply go down to where it says 100% and click that. You will notice that everything will go all small and look a little weird. Don't worry about it, because as soon as you finish playing the game in this state, when you quit it and go back to doing anything you want to do on your PC, you could just open up this area again and change your scale and layout display back to what it was by default in the first place. Now that you got that sorted out, simply just go and run the game by default from Steam, GOG or by the disk.exe version, and then it should launch like normal and fit the screen. These are the two methods in order to launch the game. Like I said, method 1 doesn't always work for everyone. So for those people that it doesn't work for, just do method 2. Otherwise, I'll see you guys in the game in a moment. Alright, so now once you open up the game, you should notice that your menu will look like this. You will also notice that it should now fit the size of the screen like normal. Now, this is what it will look like in the case of 4K users like myself. You can see that the actual menu itself, the text will be a bit small, but of course it will still fit within the boxes. Now, I want to make something very clear when it comes to 4K users especially. 2K users, this still applies to you as well, just not quite as much. I don't believe it's nearly as bad as the 4K users will get it. And that is that the text within the game will be about this size here on the menu, as you can see right now. In some cases it might be a little bit bigger in places, but most of the time it will be this small. Currently there is no way when you make this game up to these resolution sizes like 4K to be able to make the text font any bigger when playing the game. It is physically not possible. Hopefully in the future there might be a way to sort that out, but as it currently stands you cannot do this. So if you want to play the game at these resolutions, then you're just going to have to put up with the smaller font, I'm afraid. It's not ideal, I understand that, but it is just the way it is. Anyway, now that we have this all like so, if you want to check that you have your resolution set to what you set it to earlier, simply come down to the options menu here, go to graphics, and then click on screen resolution. And you should notice at the bottom here will have your resolution size. So in my case, it's got 3840 by 2160 at the bottom there. Of course, for other users who are doing 1920 or 2K, your resolution should be at the bottom as well. Basically, if you want to check it's definitely correct, then it will have your resolution that you put in at the bottom underneath all these other ones. The other thing that I will show you quickly before we jump into the game is I thought I'd just show you, for those users who installed the custom basically movie resolution upscale movies files, what the movies actually look like now. So I thought I'd just quickly show those users that. So I'm going to quickly just load up a movie. So let's go for Banana Arrival, that'll do. So here you go, this is what a remastered movie looks like now. It basically looks a lot better than it used to. It runs smoother than it used to, as they used to always run at 30 frames. They now run at 60 and look a lot more crisp and smooth. Overall, the texture quality is improved on them as well. So this is what you're basically getting now as a result of this. As you can see, they look overall a lot better. And this applies to every single one within the game, of course, as well. So that's just one example. Of course, all of the cutscenes will look like that now too. I'm now going to jump into a load game for you guys, just so you guys can see what the game actually looks like from within the game when you're playing it. So what we'll do is we'll go and load up. Yeah, Taris will do. Okay, so now we are inside the actual game itself, playing and doing whatever we want. This is what the screen will look like for you 4K users. Again, very similar to the 2K users. For 1080p users, yours will look a little bit bigger than ours, because obviously your screen resolution size is a lot smaller. But anyway, for 4K people, this is what it will look like as a definite. You can notice a couple of slight issues here and there. They're not big or important issues, quite frankly. You can deal with them quite happily, but you will notice down here in the bottom left where you've got your character portrait normally, there'll be some slight bars next to their portrait that are just blank and empty. It doesn't matter, you can still click on that bit and it will bring up basically this section right here, which is where you upgrade your character and so on like normal. So those work perfectly fine. You also notice up in the top left hand corner that the map will be tiny. Now the thing with this game at 4K and above is the map in the game is generally kind of, well, it's on pretty much bare bones being usable. So as an example here, let me just quickly go and basically reveal some of the map for you all so that the actual map shows something rather than it just being a load of boring squares and all that. So yeah, there you go, that'll do. Right, so let's get the map up like so. And as you can see, this is what the map will look like now at higher resolutions. It's quite small, as you can tell down here, and usually I believe it goes up to about here and then sort of like that for 2K and 4K users for size. It doesn't fit the entire screen here that you see. This is obviously because the scaling of the map doesn't quite scale up to those resolutions. Again, maybe this will be fixed in the future, I don't know. But of course, if you use the map, then you're going to suffer a little bit at higher resolutions. But to be honest, I never use the map myself. I have no need for it. I played these games so many times that I never use the map. So quite frankly, I don't care about it. But for those people that do care about it, you might have a bit of a tough time. But like I said, it will still be visible here if you walk across the whole map and reveal it. You will still see it, but you will have to sort of look and squint at it a bit because it's quite small. But it's not the biggest deal in my opinion. I'm sure people will be able to get used to it. Like I said, if there's a fix in the future for it though, then I will let you know. What I will do now is just quickly go through all the menus and show you what they look like at a higher resolution. So first of all, we'll look at the equipment menu. So as you can see here, this is what the menu looks like. You can see them all here. The text is a bit small on the sides and all that, but perfectly visible in my opinion, and it all fits very well. You've obviously got everything that you have inside your inventory here, and that again, text is a bit small, but it fits. This is what you saw earlier, which is the character upgrade screen. Again, everything fits. Bit small on the text front, but it's fine. You've got this bit as well, and of course, yeah, text is small. Now this bit in here, which is where you have basically the message log of what everyone does or says in the game, this bit can be really, really small, and you can kind of see that a lot of these texts sort of pile up on each other rather than having a bit of a gap between one another. So you will notice that they don't quite look so great with the spacing, but my advice is if you want to read this, do what I'm doing, which is basically left click on the bit of text you want to read, so it highlights that. So if you have a really long piece of text in here, then it will highlight everything that's related to that speech from that person or whatever, so it's easy to find it and read it. It will just make your lives a lot easier basically. But otherwise it is a little small, but it's not such a big deal. It should be reasonable to deal with. Then your quest logbook and everything, again, text is small but it fits well. The map we've already looked at, and obviously it's got its issues, but within the map itself, I thought I'd show you the party selection screen quickly. So this is what it looks like. Seems fine and it works well. You can like select your partners and so on, like so, and that's fine. And of course you've got the return to hideout or Ebon Hawk, whatever it is at the time, down the bottom there that works. And just for people's, well, just to see it if you want to see it, you've got the load game menu, which looks like this, and again it's a bit small but you can see it pretty well and it fits well like this. And of course everything else you have already seen and is perfectly fine. But this is what the game looks like. It looks pretty reasonable at 4K and that. It works very well. The only slight issue is of course the font. hopefully there will be something to sort that out in the future. As it currently stands, there isn't. And if there is something to sort it out in the future, same with the map, then of course I will do an update video and let you guys know about that. But at the moment there is nothing, and you will just have to put up with that, I'm afraid. But everything else works perfectly fine and it looks great. So anyway, you've now successfully got the game fully up to the resolution that you wanted to get it at, and you really have achieved something that, to be honest, for 4K users has been a pain in the ass to deal with for a long time, so well done. And lastly, in this tutorial now, I'm just going to show the people that are interested how to cheat on the game. So we'll just quit the game and sort that out now. So now that you've quit the game and come back to the desktop or to your Steam games library or whatever, you're going to want to now find where your Knights of the Old Republic is installed again. So for Steam users, find Knights of the Old Republic in your Steam library, right click it, go to Properties, go to Local Files, click Browse Local Files, and you will have obviously your game directory of where you've got the game installed over here. You're going to want to scroll down until you find the swkotor.ini. Again, remember it's next to the .exe. So open up the Star Wars KOTOR ini file, and you want to come to where it says Game Options, and then you simply want to press Enter on your keyboard at the end of Game Options, so you create a line here, and then type in enable cheats equals 1, and make sure you have a capital E and a capital C, and write it exactly like this. Once you've done that, simply go and click File Save or Control S on the keyboard, and you can close this down. You can close this down again, and if you've got that open, you can close that down too. Alright, so once you've got the game open, in order to activate any cheat at all, you need to, on your keyboard, push the key underneath your escape key. So it's, I believe, called the tile key or tiled or something like that. Anyway, when you push that, you will then see up in the top left hand corner of your screen above the map an arrow with a little white line. It's a bit smaller obviously on the 4K HUDs than that, but it will be there. And then you simply just have to type in the cheat of your desire. So as an example here, in my case you can see my character walks like this and it's quite slow and boring. So I can type in this cheat, which is turbo, and then once you've entered in the cheat you want, push enter on the keyboard. It will keep the word up there for a few minutes and eventually it will disappear. And then if I walk now, you can see I'm running basically at the speed of what force speed would be in the game, which is nice and quick. And obviously this is great if you want to get through the game quickly, just for fun or whatever. Yeah, this is really useful to run this quickly. And of course, if you have any other cheats, like, I don't know, give a weapon or infinite health or something, then you would do the same thing as well. What I will do for everyone is I will leave down inside the description of the video a link to a place that has all the cheats available, so that you guys can basically just go and look up a list of every cheat that you want to use, and that will be that. But anyway, that was just a brief example of what I consider the most useful cheat on these games if you're going to use it, as I don't particularly care for the other cheats much myself, as I prefer to play the game normally. But yeah, that's just for people that want to cheat really. But anyway, that is it for this guide. I hope you guys all found it useful. If you have any troubles at any point and you get stuck while following the guide, then just leave a comment and I will reply to it, of course. And make sure you do, of course, use the timestamps that will be in the description and the pinned comment of the video, so it will basically make your lives a lot easier to get to the points that you need to for the video. And with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video and found it very useful, and I will see you all in another fixing tutorial very soon.
The Jedi, they are all dead, save one, and one broken Jedi cannot stop the darkness that is to come.
Perhaps we shall see.
Ah!